So there's this scientific calculation, and it's like the more you run on the treadmill as much as you run that mouth, maybe you wouldn't be built like that. Boy.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, I want you to see how the poor decisions of the modern woman can ruin her life. We'll explore various opinions from some women and how genuine interest from a woman is non-negotiable. Before we begin, we want to thank you for being here. Your support means a lot to us. If you like what you see, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We'd also love to hear about your experiences in the comments. Your engagement helps us grow and reach more people. Thank you for being part of our project. Let's get started.
And let me just say this, the best women in this world are going to be the most difficult and complex. There is no way you are going to find an easy woman that is worth your while. There is just no way. And if you take that difficulty and the complex aspect of who she is and turn it into her being crazy, then you need to just go find a basic woman. Because around here, the difficult women are the ones who are going to show the most emotion and pour the most love into you. They're the ones that are going to take a house and make it into a home. They're going to take anything that you give them and multiply it. They're going to provide in that way. They're going to give you children. They're going to give you food to eat. They're going to make a house a home. And it's not going to be easy. The women who are looked at as difficult and complex are the ones who have the most love inside of them to give. And if you can't handle that, once again, go find a basic one.
Later on, we'll see the life of this woman, which is truly difficult and complex. You'll see why a woman's past matters and how no woman can determine her own worth, but rather, the market regulates it. But let's react to her message, brothers. Stop believing this fallacy because this is the same story we've been sold in all Disney movies, the one about a man fighting for a woman's love. How many stories like this do we see in real life where the happily ever after didn't come true? Many thousands like the grains of sand. Because I've always said genuine interest is non-negotiable. If a woman doesn't show interest or treat you as the best option she can access from the beginning, then she's not interested. That's why we see men with this brainwashing, chasing after women who have no interest in them. But they still believe that by being their simps, they'll win them over. This woman throws him into the friend zone but keeps taking all his money and gifts without giving anything in return. Meanwhile, the Chad, a man who brings nothing to the table but his seed, enjoys the fruits of your labor. You play the role of a boyfriend, but the Chad does the job of a lover. I'll repeat it again. A woman who doesn't show genuine interest in you from the beginning won't do it in the end. Get rid of that Disney narrative from your head. Genuine interest is non-negotiable.
I am about to embarrass myself on the internet by sharing all the dumb financial decisions that I have made in the pursuit of love. Let's get started with this first one. When I was in my mid-20s, I was dating a very good-looking man, and he was not into me. But me, being a little anxious, attached girly back in the day, was like, this man is a prize, let me do everything I can to keep him. I was making about twice as much as he made at the time. He had taken a step back in his career, living with his grandma, so he had no expenses. And mind you, he was still making $60K a year with no expenses. Well, his birthday rolls around and I'm like, I want to take this
hot peas
to Mexico. I offer that to him, and this is how not into me he was. He had to think about that. He had to think about whether or not he wanted to take me up on that offer. Eventually he accepts. I'm like, oh my God, we're in love. A few days before we're set to leave, he's like, I think I want to check it out. I was like, okay, let me go check what the prices are. Originally I look and I'm like, oh, I think it's $50. Not realizing it was 75 after taxes and it was 75 each way. So originally I told him, oh, it'll be $50. And then after going through the checkout process, I'm like, oh, never mind, it was $150. And he goes, well, I was only planning on spending $50. Mind you, I just paid for an entire trip to Mexico for his birthday. Entire trip. I keep expecting him to be a reasonable person and be like, okay, I got it. I'm the one who wants to check a bag. I'll check it and I'll pay the $150. He does not do that. So I went ahead and paid for it. Now we go on the trip, have a great time. He tells me he loves me and he breaks up with me a week after we get back. I take full ownership of this, me doing these things because I thought I needed to earn love. But the reason I'm sharing these stories is so that you can recognize it in your own relationships or just avoid it completely.
Brothers, and you're out there fighting for love, while Chad is paying for trips to Mexico just to get banged against the wall, because that's what Chad does, bringing his seed to the table. This woman pays for these trips for this seed. Look at how she took him on a trip. Chad provided his service, but like every great Chad, he left upon his return, because as we know, this man doesn't commit. She's happy recounting this story, I bet she still remembers this man today, the adventure with him, because those are the moments that are cherished as the years go by. Here I wonder, did he fight for her love? Or did she lay everything out on a silver platter for this man from the beginning? But you, Mr. Simp, they would have made you pay for the plane, they would have made you pay for the hotel, they would have made you pay for the outings, everything you buy because you have to qualify with her to see if she'll let you have some intimacy. While Chad gets everything paid for his seat, men, genuine interest is non-negotiable. Look at how well a woman will treat you when she's the one investing in you. Make her investment.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
No, but because if you think it can't happen to you, let me tell you exactly why it can. Because I was that girl in high school. Tri-star athlete. Always in a sport, year round. My sports would overlap because I was so good at one sport that I would make it further than normal, so it would overlap with my next season's sport. So I'm in 2 sports at one time, 3 sports at one time. You know, in order to be on these school teams, you have to maintain your grades and you have to be good in the classroom. And that's exactly what I did. A's and B's, tri-star athlete. Extracurricular activities, good with the teachers, socially acceptable. I had a car. I had everything I wanted and needed to succeed. And I was doing that just until almost exactly a year after I graduated high school, almost exactly a year to the day when I had that cap and gown on and threw my hat up in the air with my class, did I end up inside of a jail and then soon after that inside of a prison for armed robbery. May of 2016, I graduated high school. May of 2017, I was behind bars. For the first time in my life. Clueless, scared, had no idea about the justice system and getting in trouble and any of that sort. And that just comes to show that within less than a year of my life, my whole world flipped upside down. Within less than a year, everything changed for the rest of my life. I am a convicted felon for the rest of my life. And that is going to hinder me and affect me in ways that if you're not a convicted felon, you just have no idea. The guilt that I carry, the shame that I carry. And so yes, it can happen to you. And don't think for a second that it can't. If you're in high school right now, or if you're a young adult who just graduated high school, and you may think that maybe you're not going down the right path, maybe you're starting to experience drugs and the party life, or you're hanging around the wrong crowd and they like to play with guns and they like to do some hood rat shit. Trust me, been there, done that. A lot of us have. Some didn't get caught. Some been through this years ago. And now they're different. They didn't have to go to prison for that, but I did. I had to go to prison. This is my motto. I had to be locked up to be set free. Because within less than a year, something in my life changed so drastically that if I would not have gone to jail or prison, I would have ended up dead. Yes, it can happen to you.
Here's the woman who tells men they have to fight for difficult and complex women. To top it off, she's a single mother. You can imagine this, what I call the complete package of problems. Here's the reason why many women don't take responsibility for their actions until someone with more authority puts them in their place. I'm sure she's the girl raised by single mothers who work hard or who didn't have a strong father figure at home. And look at how she ended up in jail after graduation. Who knows what she stole? There goes all the investment from 18 years of child support from a father who couldn't be there to guide his daughter. And she ended up being a single mother. Now I understand the saying, those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. And here's the woman who says in a video that a man has to fight for difficult women. If you don't like it, find yourself a basic one. I'd rather have the girl from the cafe who charges me for coffees than a difficult one who will be chaos in my life, who comes with Chad's sin. But let's continue.
Tell me why I'm at work and I work with models, and there was this beautiful, beautiful model, right? And we're shooting her. And I'm like, girl, how old are you? She tells me she's 32. When I tell you my jaw was to the floor, she looked 23. Like, I literally looked at her and I was like, girl, did you graduate last year? Because same. She looked so young. She looked so good. She was glowing. I asked her, what's the secret? Like, what do you do? She goes, you know what? I have a man that loves me, takes care of me, treats me right, and he does not stress me out. She said, when a man stresses you out, girl, you're gonna age. I had never heard something so right in my life. If a man is taking care of you well, you are gonna glow. Like, you have no stress. You have no crusty, dusty, musty sun stressing you out. Like, if anything, he's making your life better and easier. You look good. Because when he's stressing you out, girl, we know, we can see it. Because trust me, we've been there. We've been there.
I must give her some credit, but I also must say that when a woman takes good care of a man, he also succeeds. Credit must be given to this. I've known men who were nothing, thanks to a good wife, are now living great lives. But the exception doesn't make the rule. Many women ruin men more than they fix their lives. How do I know this? Just look at the divorce rate, which says more than 55% of marriages end in divorce, of which 80% are initiated by women, rising to 90% when they are professionals. What does that tell us? It's easier for a woman to ruin you than to help you succeed. Now she says she has a man who loves me and doesn't stress me out. But do you know how many men marry for love? Almost all of them, because a man must love a woman very much to sign a contract that could ruin his entire future. So don't come to me saying the secret is to have a man who loves you. The secret is to have a relationship where both love each other, have life goals together. But let's finish watching the story of the convicted girl.
So for the first time since November of 2017, when I was sentenced to prison for the very first time in my life, I am going to read the plea that I wrote for the judge, basically my mercy call, right before I was sentenced to prison, in front of my family and everyone else in the courtroom. It was my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, my stepdad. My brother wasn't there. He was in Afghanistan. So if you want to set the mood for yourself and get ready, I'm going to read this to you as if you guys were the judge. Your Honor, when I graduated high school in May of 2016, it marked the biggest accomplishment of my life thus far. But a year later, May 2017, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I don't know what word best describes what I'm feeling. Regret, ashamed, remorseful. I'm not mad at anyone but myself. I'm so angry that I let myself get to this point, but I don't blame anybody but myself. Before evil corrupted my life, I was a young girl with aspirations to succeed in a world with no limits. But then I quickly became part of a world in which I was immensely limited. I refuse to allow this to define me, though. And anyone who does know me know that this was a mistake made well out of my character. As I was growing up, I was taught to take responsibility for my own actions, and it's about time I was given this respectful opportunity to say right now that I am here because I messed up. I can say all day that I hung around bad influences, and I can even say I've witnessed some very poor decision making, but what I can't say is that I didn't have a choice because I did. I have 2 legs that could have walked away, but for whatever reason, these 2 feet stayed put. At some point, I lost sight of who I truly am. I remember my sophomore year of high school when I was chosen by our district representative, Travis Cummings, to work in our state capitol. And at one point, I was able to participate in a mock trial in a courtroom just like this, but bigger. I remember thinking, I'm going to pursue a career just like this one day. I did not expect the next time that I stood in a courtroom, it would be dressed like this, bound by all of my failures. I can't even begin to process what has been going through the heads of my teachers, families, or coaches. Some of them sitting, listening as I speak, and yet they still cannot grasp what they see. These shackles controlling the lengths of my steps, these handcuffs enabling me to reach around my mom and beg her to forgive me for this mess that I put myself in. I remember being in high school like it was just a year ago, and that's probably because it was just a little over a year ago. I was one of the fastest swimmers on the team, one of the fastest runners on the track, and having so much potential to succeed at a higher level through athletics and academics. But instead, I went from a cap and gown to stripes and shackles. I went from an 18-year-old girl with her own apartment, car, and amazing job taking care of infants to absolutely nothing. Now, I'm going to stop there and tell you guys to come back for part 2.
And here I want you to observe what I said, daughter of a single mother. Statistics say that 1 in 3 children of single mothers ends up in prison. So by saying there was my stepfather, I already imagined there wasn't a strong father figure in her life. But what makes me laugh is that she now claims to be a strong and difficult woman. You're not strong for doing something stupid in your youth, then getting ahead with the resources of your wealthy parents to claim that you're somehow outstanding because of this. Strong is the young person who comes from the bottom, starts their own business or gets a good job, didn't resort to vices or theft, stayed within the law, paid for their own education, and made it in a world against them. Not someone who, when they get out of jail, has all the privileges without working for them, whose life may be difficult after getting out perhaps. But as a woman, tomorrow a man will give you a child or marry you, he'll support you. All you'll do is have children. You'll already have more economic standing than 50% of the men in the country. But of course, you're a single mother, and on top of that, no one wants the children of the Chad who keeps repeating mistakes. It's true, those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think of the story of the girl who took Chad to Mexico? Do you think the story of the woman who ended up in prison is one of overcoming? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.